Good evening everyone, this is Zola and today we're going to be having a look at smart objects and how they're not created equally. Contrary to popular belief, there's different ways, there's two different types of smart objects really, and they're similar in the way they work, but there are some slight differences. So the first one I'm going to show you is when you import a piece of footage. So what I'm going to go is to File, and then we're going to do Place Embedded, and I'm going to select a render I did here, and I'm just going to hit enter. So this is a way of placing a new JPEG or picture or whatever into your document. You can also do it by dragging it from like one project to the next, or you can drag it straight from your desktop into Photoshop. There's a million different ways to do this. That's not what we're going on about today. What we're doing is, as you can see, we've got this little, I don't know, it's like a folded piece of paper with like a square and a little square. This basically means smart object. Now what does that mean? Well, let's say I scale this down, okay? And now I'm just pressing Ctrl T to do this. And now I scale it back up. You'll see, I'm going to just zoom into 100% here. Just so this is as sharp as it gets, right? If I scale down and scale up, we're going to see that it looks exactly as you would expect it to, the same. That is because this is a smart object. Now watch if you right click and you go to rasterize layer, this will basically make your layer a normal layer, no longer smart object. Now watch what happens when I do this now. I'm going to scale this down, and then I'm going to scale it back up, and you see the difference. What a smart object does is it remembers the maximum pixel information that your layer has. So as you can see, and so even when you scale it down or up, it will remember that at 100% what your picture looks at. Whereas with once you rasterize a layer and you make transformations, it is basically remembering, it's basically baking that information into your transformation. So when you scale something down, it's saying, okay, well, this is now this small, and if I go even more tiny here, when I bring this up, you know, it's going to be blocky and horrible to look at. So this is one of the main reasons why you want to keep layers smart when you can, because if you do end up going small and then coming back up again, you're going to find that you're going to have all that lovely information to play with. Also, as of again, I think this is a really recent addition to Photoshop. It used to be that you could not add like layers adjustments and levels adjustments to smart objects, but that is no longer the case. So before, if I would have had to do a levels adjustment, which is Control L or Command L, and just, you know, done something like this, like crushed my colors for whatever reason, and done that. This is a new thing that's been added into Photoshop. So now you get what's called a smart filter. What would have happened in the old versions of Photoshop, and I believe this is CC 2014 backwards, I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it's only been added in the last two, is if you hit Command L on a smart object, like nothing would happen. You would have to first right click, rasterize, and then at that point you would be able to press Command L and change the controls around. So if you don't have a new version of Photoshop and you can't do this, that is why. It's actually quite a recent feature. But the genius thing is about this is, let's add something else to this. Let's go to Layer and Smart Filter, not Smart Filter, I apologize. What I'm looking for is, because I don't usually go up to okay, image adjustments, and let's just go to color balance. Sorry, I usually use the keyboard shortcut, so I apologize. So let's just make this you know, completely different. Go to the shadows, make them like blue or whatever, like, you know, radically colorize this. And again, you'll see this has been saved as a smart filter. What this means is if you double click on this, you can always go back. So here we have the levels. If you double click on the slider, it lets you blend between what you had before and after. So you feel like this is too extreme, but that wasn't enough, but I like halfway in between, where we were there, and you can even change this to an overlay mode as well. And so what that's done there is, irrespective of the color balances, we've just applied that. So that's, you click there to kind of like blend the effects that you've just added, and if you double click here, you actually get to edit the slider, which is super awesome. So this is like one of the main reasons that you will want to keep things in Smart Objects, because now we have smart adjustments. We can make adjustments and we can always go back and tweak them. Again, in all the versions of Photoshop, once you made one of these adjustments, it was baked in. You would have had to like duplicate like your layer, make the adjustment there, and then if you weren't sure, go back to like the old version of the layer. So Photoshop has really come on leaps and bounds, and I believe, does it work with filters as well? I believe it does. So if we go and add like Gaussian blur, you can see. So again, we've added a blur, and if I wanted to blend this like to max almost, again, I can, you know, knock this back between, halfway between a blend. Obviously I don't know why you'd want to do that, but halfway between a blend and that. And if we want to just completely remove the blur, we can do that. If we, you know, if we want to just hide the effect, we can do that. And these can be stacked in different orders. So if you want to like crush it before you add the color, then you can do that as well. So all really useful tips, and that's why I would implore you to use Smart Objects. If you have a layer that you want to apply some color stuff to, and you're like, I'm not, what I'm going to do is just delete, clear these smart filters. Yeah, if you have a layer that you want to apply these effects to, and it's already been rasterized for whatever reason, you can also convert, and this is something I do a lot. So if I have a layer, you can convert it to a smart object. What this means is like Photoshop will essentially remember it as it is now, and again, you can do this scaling down and scaling up. You can now add smart filters, you know, through whatever it was, image adjustments. You know, you can add all these smart filters, mess about with it, and still have the power to turn them off or go back. So yes, Smart Objects are the one. Now this is one type of smart object for me. The other use of a smart object is, and I have like a template here, you can find these templates all over the internet. This one was free, so rather than me setting up a scene, I think this really demonstrates the power of smart objects. So what we have here is a layout of a load of business cards, but what you'll see is actually just the front and the back. So we have the front design here, which is a logo, and then we have you know, all the detailed information. And what this is doing is, as you can see, we have lots of smart objects, but we have design 1, design 2, design 2, design 2. What this is just essentially 2 smart objects duplicated over the course of this composition. So if I just alt click on any of these, you'll see that, you know, these have just been scaled and placed using free transform. And you know, and then there's just the background, which is just these cards, which could be a render, it could be a photograph, who knows. It's well done. So the power of this is, if I double click into a smart object, what it will do is take you into almost a new document. So here we have the logo, and as you can see, it says here, I replace me. So let's just swap in this, whatever this is, like a gold one, and maybe we want to add like, let's add our little layer style. This is just a layer style that I have saved, one of the presets I've made. And we have the background color here. And what happens now is, if I go to File, Save, and come back to our document, we'll see that it has updated all of the, because this has essentially just been duplicated. Someone has made a smart object and then gone to duplicate layer, which is Control J. I'm sure it's here, there it is. And then just duplicated and moved it around. But what this shows is that by having just one smart object duplicated around, if you replace, go into the contents of this and mess things around and then save it, it will update in all these other places, which is super useful. And if we look at what's in here, okay, we don't have these, that's fine. But if I change this to like, yeah, that's fine, replace the font, I'm just messing about anyway. Change that to Zola or whatever. Again, Control S to save it, and then go back to our mockup. We'll see that it has updated in all of the smart objects So how useful is that? So that's really powerful. And the way you would do that, if I was to do this from scratch, I guess in a new document, is I'm just going to do this super basic, but let's say we had, I'm just going to create, in fact I'm going to do it with a shape. I'm just going to create some really rough cards, like really rough, and yep, and then just duplicate these around. Maybe you only need 3, I guess, and then select those 3 and then just duplicate them across. And we probably don't need our document to be any bigger than this, really. So, and then what I would do is just make a new layer, start typing, James, impossible brief. Let's just say that's all we want, and that's, you know, that's our cards. Disappointingly enough, if you convert that to Smart Object, again I've just right clicked it, going to the Smart Object by clicking in here. That is our thing, and if we come back into, not that one, but this one, if we duplicate our Smart Object around and just move it around down there, and then come into here and change my name to Tony for no reason at all. Save, again, file, save, go back, nope, sorry, nope. And there we go, it's updated all our smart objects, and so it's literally as simple as that. So then you just need to create a bit of a nicer scene. But hopefully you've seen this, like the many uses of smart objects and why they're absolutely imperative. They do slow your projects down a slight bit because it has to retain all that information. So once you're happy with a layer, I would recommend rasterizing it afterwards, especially if your document starts running slow, and keep an eye down here at your document size. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned some stuff, and yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and we will get on to, I believe, brushes is next up, and then maybe like the transform tools or something. We shall see. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.